this webinar. It's called The Power of Earned Value Management in Monitoring Cost, Cloud Cost. I am Anderson Oliveira, FinOps Foundation member, and it's a pleasure to be here and share this. This webinar is sponsored by Profisea Labs, so appreciate for the invite and for collaborating with me on the production of this material and be able to be here and presenting this with you. So without further ado, going straight to the topic, I wanted to talk about the power of of earned value management in monitoring cloud cost. I've been working in cost management in IT for several years. I have a heavy experience in project office management and project management, and there in this discipline, we have the discipline called cost, and we have the discipline time, or also known as the schedule. And there we were able to use a technique called EVM, or earned value management. There is a set of techniques that allows you to control cost and schedule of projects. So when I started with FinOps in Farfetch, there we had as well as I started looking to similar things. Although cloud management is not a project as per definition, but there are similarities in there. We have a budget, we have cost, the necessity to track cost against a plan. We have not a schedule in the sense that we need to deliver something at a certain date, but we need to comprise a budget within a certain period. That can be a quarter, a semester, or a year. So I started noticing that there were some similarities, and I thought, hey, why not apply this technique in keeping track of the cost on the cloud? That's what we did in Farfetch. In the entire 2023, I tried this technique there with a lot of success. This technique not only allows us to keep track of the cost, but also allow us to calculate a forecast. You might remember from the FinOps study that just recently was released, the State of FinOps 2024, that one of the major problems that arise from the practitioners is the ability to do forecasting. And hopefully, in this monitoring cost, the earned value management can be one answer to this situation where we are all wanting to know how to forecast in a way that this can be useful, and this forecast can be really tied to something that we can hold on. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the context where this is located, the problem, why it is important, a quick definition of what is EVM, understanding how it is through a walkthrough example, and then I will show you a real life example when we will close the presentation and have some conversation in case you want to discuss this a little bit more. So without further ado, let's continue here. For those that are into FinOps for a quite long time, or just a few times, you must have seen this presentation before. This slide. This slide contains the entire framework in just one page. I know this is busy, but this is really the intent, just for you to have a high-level overview, a high-level view, or an overview of the entire framework. So when it comes to EVM and cost cloud management, we are talking about specifically about the domain, performance tracking, and benchmarking. This is what we're going to talk about today. It doesn't have to do with the other areas of the FinOps, although somehow we need to have them in mind. But this is a little contribution or a little topic within the entire domain of performance tracking and benchmarking. I mentioned the study, the the States of FinOps 2024, and you can see that the accurate forecasting and spend count as number 3 on the top priorities from the practitioners. This is incredible, as in a sense that this raised from the position 6 on last year. It was the 6th priority, and now it's emerged to the 3rd priority. Respondents stating increased organizational attention on the following topics. 57% believes that budget granularity and communication, 57% on accuracy and forecast on actual spend, and 56% expectation on adherence to budget. This has lots to do with earned value management, the concept of budgeting, and the relationship with the budget to the forecast. Hopefully, I will be successful in demonstrating this today. Still on the why this is important, see that for the size of the companies, the ones that goes from 0 to 15 million, this is, sorry, I highlighted it incorrectly, should be this one here, accurate forecasting of spending. And so it figures in each one of the main, on the layers of sizes of companies. 100 million plus forecasting maybe it's not important, but it still has a good percentage of 38.4%. With all that said, what earned value management is? Earned value management, or EVM, is a project management methodology for objectively measuring project performance and progress, and for forecasting project outcome. This is the definition of it. A little bit of the history behind EVM. EVM emerged as a financial analysis specialty in United States government programs in the 1960s, with the government requiring contractors to implement EVM system. It has since become a significant branch of project management and cost engineering. Project management research investigating the contribution of EVM to project success suggest, so pay attention to this, that a moderately or strong positive relationship in implementations of EVM can be scaled to fit projects of all sizes and complexities. EVM is not only present in there on the DoD or Department of Defense, but other major organizations require projects to have EVM implemented, like NASA, the UK Ministry of Defense, and also the Project Management Institute. If I have any PMP colleagues here on the call, you know how hard it is to go through the test. And the majority of the questions there are related to EVM interpretation. You might understand a little bit what this means for this discipline in IT. And my proposal in this call is to show you that it's also applicable to apply earned value management techniques into cloud cost management. EVM tries to answer 3 main questions. Where have we been? Where are we now? And where we're going? Where have we been is like where our money went. Where are we now comparing to the plan? And according to the plan, based on what we spent, where are we going to be landing? In order to do that, it requires 3 data points. First is the budget or planned value of work schedule. On our cloud context, it's equivalent to the budget for the period. For example, if you are measuring in a quarterly basis and you do budgeting in a quarterly basis, that will be your the period of your budget. If it's yearly, as I did last year, that's going to be the entire year. The actual value of the work completed in our cloud context, it's equivalent to effective cost. Effective cost, according to Focus, which is the standard that is being developed by the FinOps Foundation, that is already on the version 1.0, we can understand that as the equivalent to effective cost. Last but not least, the earned value of the physical work completed. On cloud contexts, and for simplification, it is the same as planned value or effective cost. You see exactly how this is going to play out when I show the example, okay? Okay, another busy slide. This is the graph that shows all the components, the 3 data points of the earned value technique, the actual cost, the planned value, and the earned value on a time scale and on cost here on this axis. See that the cost that we are looking here is always cumulative, all right? And earned value is also measured in a point in time. So you decide when it's going to be the moment that you're going to take the picture of your actual situation, and from there you will calculate all the necessary data points in order to generate the proper indexes that will give you a complete view of where your cost is. So let me pause for a moment here and take a breath, as I'm gonna be explaining now how this is calculated, okay? Okay, although this could sound a little bit threatening, I gotta tell you that understanding it is very easy. Earned value is not a complicated method to understand. It's actually simple. What could be difficult, though, is to translate the concept to your current reality. What will be equivalent to effective cost and how you obtain that? What going to be the budget cost and how you obtain the budget cost? And the earned value in your context, what it is and how to obtain that. But my objective in this next slide is to show the simple concept. And you see that going to be very easy if I do my job well. So let's keep going. All right. Consider with me here that you have a period of 12 months, and the budget that you have is to spend 100, let's say, euros or dollars every month. If you do a planned value equal to earned value, you could also understand this column here as a cumulative cost, okay? So you see that the cost is accumulating here, 100, 100 plus 100, 200, plus 100, 300, and so on and so forth until we get to 1,200, okay? Now let's consider a hypothetical scenario where we are in the month number 5. We are at the end of month number 5, maybe on the first week on the month 6, I don't know. But it's possible for you to, at every month, get the actual cost of it. Let's say on the first month, we spend 80, then on the second 70, then 80 again, then 85, and then 85. This is compared not to the cumulative, okay? It's compared to the monthly budget. The actual cost is the cumulative actual cost that we have. So when we do 80 plus 70, then plus 80, then plus 85, then plus 85, you're gonna have at the end the 400. Okay, so far should be very simple. The graph on the right represents that. The blue one is our cumulative budget or planned value and the approximation of equal to earned value. And the actual cost that is right here is represented by this graph, right? So a little bit below budget, 100, let's say. So let's continue our explanation. We will calculate, this is our first metric for earned value. If you do a research on this on the internet, you see that this 3 data point is able to generate several other KPIs that will allow you to understand the cost and have different perspectives. This is really amazing, the number of conclusions you can get from there. But the main one is the CPI, in my humble opinion. CPI stands for Cost Performance Indicator, and it's calculated by dividing the earned value by the actual cost. And on our situation for cloud cost management, I am considering planned value equal to earned value, where we're gonna be doing this, earned value divided by actual cost. For the month of January, it was 1.25, month 2, 1.33, 1.3, month 4, 1.27, and on month 5, it's 1.25. What is this? This is the current state. Do you remember when I said that there is a picture, a snapshot in time when we are measuring? Okay, the month that we are doing this measurement is the month number 5, and the current state is to have a CPI of 1.25. Any CPI above 1 means that we are under running or below budget. Any CPI that is below 1 is we are above the plan or overrunning. Let's continue our conversation here. And here comes the forecasting, the portion that I used a lot and that I love the most. When you do a forecasting in an earned value technique, it is as simple as multiplying the CPI that you have on the first month, on your reporting month, and multiply that by the and divide that by the planned value. Okay, so this times divided by this, we're gonna have the 400, and 600 divided by 1.25, we're gonna have this. Then 700 divided by this, we're gonna have this, and so on and so forth until we get to the end. So you're gonna have the cumulative number every month until the end. That the forecasting going to be your yellow line, okay? So what is your budget to complete, or your total estimated for the entire period? It's going to be the actuals that you have until your measurement point, plus what you're forecasting until the end of the period. That is simply a simple math of taking your planned value and divide that by the CPI. Simple like that. And with this, you're going to have the number that is equivalent to cumulative for each one of the periods, and then you get there. So some considerations about this technique. All right, some considerations about this technique. You can expand this for many different periods. The result going to be the same if you happen to have your budget in a daily basis, and your daily budget can be the monthly budget divided by the number of days in that month. And with this, you're gonna have your CPI for the day, which comprises with the FinOps principle that the information should be available in a timely fashion. This is, of course, an approximation. It's almost, or it will be a huge effort to really try to determine the budget they're going to be spending through estimation every day. But I think that the accuracy is pretty good if you take your monthly budget and divide that by the number of days within a certain month. Okay. Second consideration I would like to do in this approach is that this is an overall, but you can do that by team, by organization, by management area. Regardless of the breakdown that you do, the requirement is to have the budget and the period and the ability to get the actuals that is equivalent to the budget. And I think that this is really, really, really important. Everybody says we need to compare apples to apples. The budget that you compare is equivalent to the same criteria that you use to determine your actuals, and vice versa. And the power and the beauty of that is like when you are able to have a overall CPI, but this CPI and is also comprised of breakdowns within that same big bucket in order to show that through organization, driving two things, accountability. Each one of the managers responsible for, or leads responsible for that portion of the budget, will be held accountable for the budget that are below their responsibility. And number two, benchmarking, because as you do a CPI, you are enabled to compare the performance between teams, because CPI puts everything on the same base by dividing earned value through by the actual cost. Okay, so this is so we can continue here going on and on the considerations. As I said in the beginning, earned value is very simple to understand, but the challenge here is really to apply that. But the good news is that once you understand how it works, you will definitely find your way through your own organization in order to get this implemented. I promised as well to show you a real world case here on the screen. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to display real numbers, but this is a sample of a report that I run in a monthly basis, and I spread this to the senior management in Farfetch. This is a snapshot in time, but this is also an automated report where I applied that technique of taking the budget and divided by day. So it allows the leads or anyone interested in these numbers to go there in the report and see the real-time status of the cost and the performance, okay? So in this report, I put here the budget, the forecast that is calculated using the CPI that I just demonstrated, the variation. It means that, let's say I am here in the month of August. And in August, I was able to tell my management that if we continue on this performance, we will save this much at the end of the year. Everybody's happy by receiving this. But the good thing is that when you do this, you are able to tell your management, give them early signs that if we continue down the path that we are today, most likely we will finish the project under running. Not the project, but our budget of the period overrunning, okay? This would be simply seen by a CPI if the CPI happened to be below 1, like 0.80 or 0.95 or something like that. CPO is cost per order. This is our unit economics. And we decided that in that time, what makes sense was to get the number of orders, and that was the cost per order. CPI just told you about that, and here is the actuals. All right, for on the month of August, we have spent this. So I like this because this answered the three questions: where we were, where we are now, and where we're going. Where we're going is to have a differentiation, sorry, a variation of this amount at the end, which represent a reduction of 3.8% of the total budget. And do you remember I mentioned you the breakdown? The breakdown that we did here was to show the breakdown by the cloud providers. This list is a little bit longer. We have a little bit more cloud providers in Farfetch in this report, but for the sake of this explanation, I think that the first portion of the report was more relevant. And in this case, we have Azure, Azure China, and GCP. If you have the budget for each one of the cloud providers and ability to measure the actuals for each one of them, you are able to calculate the forecast, and from the forecast, calculate obviously how much you're going to be saving from there. So the 3.8% in that time was the contribution was due to a reduction of 0.1% in Azure, 7.3 in Azure China, and 22.2% in GCP. Okay, so this is one idea on how to apply this. You can, use your imagination and apply this in so many different ways. As I said, monthly reports as this one, or real-time reporting that can do some smart calculations behind the scene and do the CPI at the moment. Make comparison between teams in just one report so we can see the performance and then so on and so forth. So in conclusion, 4 takeaways, in my opinion, that you could take from this presentation, all right? So the number one is build a sound budget plan with the right level of detail containing amount per period, all right? If you have that, this is really the ground foundation. Find ways to build the budget with a good planning. In my example, you might remember that I put the same amount every month, but in Farfetch situation, we have a very strong impact caused by a variation, sorry, on the budget caused by fluctuations of the business throughout the months. So you need to take that into consideration. Number of orders, for example, fluctuates a lot. It's a lot during certain periods of the year, and the budget should flow accordingly. So if the budget is reflected on that, that's going to be the basis for all this calculation. Number two, actual cost in focus. This is equivalent to effective cost. Number three, understand CPI or cost performance indicator is the key for forecasting calculation. Remember that yellow line that I just showed? It is the from the CPI calculated on the moment that you take the measurement or do the status, is from where you're going to be drawing the line continuing starting from your actual cost. And number four, understand that earned value is a snapshot. It is a reflection of a point in time on a date, on the date it is being measured. Earned value can be one today, can be little different tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So what is the value of measuring that? It is a picture that is telling you this. If you continue down the performance you have up to today, this is where you're going to land on the end of the period that you have determined. All right. So it's not a magic calculation that will, um, kind of through a magic way guess how much you're going to be spending. Actually, it's the opposite. It is going to tell you based on your current behavior, this is where you're going to be landing. This means that today you need to make a decision. Are you going to change course or are you going to stay course? What are you going to do in order to pursue your objectives? Or maybe your plan is not realistic, could be, and you need to replan your entire period again for something that is more realistic. I don't know. But those sparks these interesting conversations that are necessary in order to take control and be in control of your cloud costs. So this is the end of my presentation. I am Anderson Oliveira, FinOps practitioner. I have been working in technology for a long time and with project management and FinOps. This is something that I thought it would be interesting to share with the community. This is the first time I'm presenting this, and I'm looking forward to your feedback. I want to know if that makes sense. If you are if this way of getting costs and putting that in a cloud cost management perspective, it makes sense. What are the advantages? What are the flaws of this perspective? So anyway, I would really would like to get your feedback on that. So this is all that I have to present for today. Thanks a lot for your participation here. And yes, open for Q&A somehow. So our host, do we have any way to do Q&A or something?
Yeah, we can also do a Q&A, and we already have one question, so you can you see it?
Yes, let's say anonymous attendee is asking, is CPI always the last value calculated, or can it be the mean or average of the CPI of the year? Good question. Let me share uh, my screen again. So when you calculate the 1.25, it is 500 divided by 400. So as this is a cumulative number, it is already a kind of an average of the entire year. I didn't do the math to say if this the average of this going to give me 125, probably not. But it's a kind of average in the sense that you're not taking the CPI of every month cost, but actually from the cumulative at that month, specific month. All right, not sure if that answered the question, but yeah, I think that this is the best that I can do. But thanks for asking. Any other question, anyone? Are we able to do live questions or something like that?
All right, if someone wants to ask a question, you can add it to Q&A session. We can wait for some more time and see.
Okay, cool. Any other question? Let me give a few seconds to see if anyone gonna put anything else on the chat. Well, if not, this has been a great pleasure to be with you all here. Appreciate the time and the opportunity to present this material. Hopefully this is going to be helpful. And again, as I said, hopefully I'm looking forward to hear your feedback about that. Thank you very much.